Hi everyone, welcome. I came down here with a nice assortment of stuff for the worms to give them their 9th feeding today after a 10-day interval between check-ins with the African nightcrawler worms that live in these 2 tubs. They've been living in here for 92 days now, and the last check-in 10 days ago included mainly leaves. The leaves that you see right here as bedding. So not only did we scatter leaves out on the surface, but we also included a little landing pad of leaves right beneath the food that we gave them. And then after we got done feeding, we laid out a couple coffee filters. Here's one of them, indicating where we last fed. But I would say that these feeding zone indicators have seen better days. I mean, this one's kind of holding together, but you know what? I figured I would just treat them to a couple replacement feeding zone indicators, and the ones that were doing that job till now will just get blended into the bedding. And all these lovely leaves that were left out here on the surface last time, these can all get blended into the bedding as well, because I've got more of this stuff to put in here as well. There's a good degree of moisture in here, so every time I come in here with just a large quantity of dry leaves under the food and then on top of the bed, thinking that that dry stuff is going to suck up all the moisture in the system, and I don't know, I've expressed those types of concerns recently, and every time I come in afterwards, I'm always proven wrong, that nothing of the sort occurs. I mean, there's plenty of moisture in these systems, and nothing is dry, not even the stuff that was put in here 10 days ago completely dry, which is kind of nice. So here's the half of a mango seed, and I just managed to tear it open, and we have a little guy playing hide and go seek. Sorry buddy, I just found you out. So let's excavate the feeding zone in bin number 2 and see what we see. If we've been consistent in managing these systems, then the odds are that we are going to find, yep, the other half of the mango seed husk. And the other one sort of ripped open when I crushed it long ways, and this one lets me crush it, but it's not ripping open, so that's just fine as well. Here too, I'm sensing a good bit of moisture, and the worms definitely seem to be enjoying it. Every handful includes a good number of worms crawling around in it. And after we've given them their feeding, we'll inspect the outer edges too to see what we see out there. It's usually fair to expect that down the middle you're going to find a good bit of worm activity where you were feeding. A lot of times the outer edges are just as popular. So now I prepared some fresh bedding over on this side, but you can see the slightly darker stuff over here on this edge that's been sort of steeping in its own moisture for a few days. We'll try to grab that stuff since that's the most juicy of the bedding that we have over here. That seems like a pretty nice quantity. So here's that half of a mango seed husk. Oh, here's the other half. Or is this a different one? I don't know, it might be a different one. And in can come today's feeding. Except I'm not certain what I'm going to make of this big huge wad of stuff. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to break it, but well, you know, I just answered my own question there. It fell apart a lot more easily than I thought it would. So, no worries there. I'm still unable to identify a good bit of what I just put in here. This is just a frosted over mound of different stuff still sticking together, despite the fact that we chipped a few good sized chunks off here and there. Here's a nice big pepper. I don't know if we're going to end up having a pepper for the other system, but guess what? We got a tomato. So one system gets a pepper, the other system gets a tomato, and this way everyone's happy. Alright, that seems like a pretty nice, generous feeding, which, as you can see, is accompanied with a good bit of moisture too. Let's sprinkle in a little bit of pulverized eggshell. That'll be the grit that accompanies this feeding. And, you know, I've got these crackers over here that I've been kind of just looking at, thinking that I should start including them in feedings. And at one point I did actually include a couple of these in a couple of other worm bin feedings elsewhere, but I did so after completely soaking them. Here I'm putting them in totally dry, and we'll see what happens. So let's get to stirring up the edge material out here where all these lovely leaves were left out on the surface. This is the opportunity to blend in those leaves into the surrounding materials. And all the material here feels nice and damp, but not muddy, luckily. And it really feels good blending in leafy matter everywhere, because then it sort of gives you that kind of rest assurance that it won't get clumpy or muddy with all that material blended into it. Here too, so nice, so many worms. Considering it was only 10 days ago that we fed right down the middle, you would think that that would be the hot spot for worm spottings, but it does seem like the worms are quite cozy pretty much anywhere in these systems, or at least on the outer edges of bin number 1. We saw a good many worms hanging out all over the place. Let's see what we see over here too. No reason to think we'd see anything much different. Let's get all these leaves blended in. Very nice, very nice. And despite the fact that we're going to be resting even more dry leafy matter out on the surface, I have a feeling that the moisture content coming in with the foods is more than enough to counteract any sort of drying that stuff can possibly cause. In fact, I think that there's probably more moisture in here than is even necessary. I can almost tell right away, right when I'm lifting up the system and bringing it over from the shelf to the bench, just from the weight of it. A lot of times you can already tell that perhaps the system has got a little bit more moisture in it than is really necessary. But then again, systems this age probably do benefit greatly from having a high degree of moisture, so the worms can feel comfortable being just about anywhere in the systems, working down material through and through. So back on to the surface is going to come a nice fresh treatment of leafy matter, and it's always fun coming in the next time, finding that lovely material there to greet you. And usually by the next time we come back in, the stuff is nice and damp and ready to get blended in. So that's it for our check-in with the African nightcrawlers on day 92, getting feeding number 9 after a 10-day interval between check-ins. I must say these systems look really, really nice. Moisture levels are pretty much exactly where I would want them to be, and it seems like we came in here in a pretty good interval. I thought 10 days would be maybe a little too soon to come back, but I do believe that that last feeding might have been on the skimpy side. This feeding, on the other hand, seems a little bit more generous, so hopefully they enjoy what they've been given. So I've got a couple things I got to take care of getting cleaned up, put away here, but I'm not going to waste your time with that. That's boring. Before I go really quick, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.